bring in Haiyan Wang. She is managing partner at the China-India Institute. Let's talk a little bit about President Xi's trip here. He's in Laos, just went to Vietnam. This all coming after the Party Congress, kind of, I think, once again, illustrating kind of the importance of the region. Talk to me about it more broadly, if you can.
Yeah, I think that definitely, if you look at the global economy undergoing the structural shift, one of the big shift is the shift more towards Asia. Asia's GDP size today is already 50% larger than Europe and the US. We expect that by 2025, with Asia being the leading growth engine, Asia's GDP could be more than the combined of Europe and US. So in that sense, that strategically, whether it's for a country or for a business, a pivot to Asia is absolutely a necessity, not an option. I think that for a long time, Asia has been moving towards integration. If you look at the trade within Asia has been growing faster than Asia's trade with outside world. So for Asia to continue to play that growth engine role, and I think that the integration amongst Asian countries becomes very critical. And I also think that President Xi's trip to Vietnam, to the APEC Summit, again gives him the global stage to preach the benefits of globalization, to preach that, through integration, away from isolation, that countries can move towards prosperity, that the global development goals can be met. I think it is very critical for China to play that role as China moves to the center of the global stage, becoming the largest economies as soon as 2030.
Well, and it's so interesting you bring that up because that was going to be my next question about APEC. And what he said, history has taught us that closed-door development will get nowhere, while open development is the only right choice. And we're seeing the TPP, the United States walking away from it, but all the other countries involved in the TPP trying to figure out some way to make it go forward. David Dollar, who we talked to last hour, saying, these bilateral agreements, no one's doing that. They want the larger deals. The United States going in one direction, Xi going in the other, obviously putting his money and his bets on a different sort of approach.
Exactly. And increasingly, it looks like America first is becoming more like America alone. So now that the TPP, preached by Japan and all the others want to continue to move forward, increasing economic cooperation, improving or make some of the rules on, IPs, on data flows more transparent. And it's not just, China moving towards globalization, towards not, nationalism, isolationism, that the rest of the world also recognize that multilateralism, that globalization, integration, opening up to the global market, attracting global capital, and then getting the technology and know-how from advanced countries. These are become a necessity. So increasingly, we will find President Trump alone, and that is not necessarily good for America. America is ceding the leadership that it has had for a long time since the Second World War. This seems to me is a backward, is a retreat, not to victory, but to a corner, perhaps.
Well, also, President Xi talking about this International Import Expo. It's going to be the first time ever next year. The opening up was also a big part of his speech that he delivered at the Congress. Talk to me about that and China's moves to open up.
I think that this, import expo to be held November next year is really China showing that we're not only preaching globalization and opening up, we're actually acting it. Because I think the action speaks louder than words. For a long time, people know of all of the international export expo in Guangdong, but now China is becoming one of the largest consumer market, and soon, perhaps in a few years, the largest consumer market, with rising middle class. And with this shift from export investment-driven economy to a consumption service-driven economy, it's bound to happen that China will import more, as President Xi committed at Davos in January, that over the next 5 years, China will import $8 trillion dollars of goods. And that really is a welcoming call and to the other countries to be engaged whether it's through Belt and Road or just from through bilateral, multilateral relationships with China.
Well, we know that President Xi's going to stay busy in Laos. Thank you so much for coming in and talking to us.